They thought they might never hear from us again. They honestly did. It's another episode of the Salted Nets. It's been far too long. It's been an incredibly long time. Listen, I'm not going to mince words with you. Show us love. There we go. That's the theme song. But that's what I got for y'all to open up, because I'm not going to bullshit y'all. All right? Because that's not what I'm here to do. That's not what we, all two of you and I, that's not what we've built a relationship on. I just want y'all to know, and I'm sure this is not the first time I've said this, but you can expect more regular releases of the Salted Nets podcast. To be honest, I've been moving around recently. It's been hard to get a handle on everything being in one place, and there's been stuff going on in my personal life that has gotten us to the point where it was just really, really hard to consistently bring you guys podcasts for a while. So, finally have decided on how we're going to go about making it happen. Today we don't have bigs, but I thought that it was important for us to get a Salted Nets podcast out no matter what right now, just because the PYOs will be coming out this week, and if you don't know, we have the PYO podcast as well. I would love if y'all tuned into that. But even if you don't, I'm sure that I have more than enough Salted Nets goodness for you. So shout out to us. Glad to be back in the building. Still got my foot on the necks of fuck niggas across the nation. I don't want y'all to think that in any way I forgot about y'all and what y'all demand of me and what y'all have asked. But the NBA is in full swing yet again. And to be honest, it always feels really good around this time of year, man. It still feels really good. You're still looking around like, whoa, I can't believe this guy's still playing. Like, we're suiting up for another year of LeBron James and Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. Driving a lot of the conversation going on in the league right now. Y'all who have built an entire career and economy on sniffing LeBron's jockstrap and being as negative as you can every single fucking time you get a chance. Those of you who have entire digital footprints dedicated to slandering LeBron James, you don't have to wake up and wonder this year what you're going to do. We can put that off another year or two. Because I don't know what y'all going to do. Those of y'all that don't actually have any takes on the game, any real opinion or fandom of the sport, those of you who are just in here for like some reality television shit to like dick ride your guy, which, by the way, we love and we appreciate. It wouldn't be the same without you. But we're back. And some pretty impressive things have happened so far. Something I haven't spoken about yet is the trade of the Knicks Timberwolves trade, which is something that caught me kind of out of left field. Now, I knew that given the lay of the land in Minnesota, it was fairly obvious to me that if real winning wasn't accomplished soon, that either Karl-Anthony Towns or Anthony Edwards would have to go. And I think we all know who we would choose in that situation to go, right? It's got to be Cat. It always had to be Cat. You're a big man, and we have serious questions about your defense. Sometimes serious questions about your willingness to exploit what I think is tremendous potential as far as like being inside, right? Which is weird to say because it feels like Cat has built so much of what makes him different on being what he considers the best shooting big man of all time, which I also think is like, I don't know, we're being a little lazy there. I don't know that he's a better shooter than Dirk. In fact, I don't believe that at all. What type of shots are we talking about? Are we talking about like set spot up shots behind the arc? Okay, fine, whatever. I still don't know that you're better than Dirk at that, but again, one of the better 3-point shooters, one of the best 3-point shooters we've ever seen at the big man position, 110%. But I think he leaves a lot on the table and he leaves a lot to be desired as far as his inside presence. And when you're not great defensively and you leave a lot on the table and a lot to be desired as far as your inside presence, it's really tough to make the case as a big man that you should be the one to stay, especially when the other guy is kind of checking every box. Like defensively, he's getting pretty competitive. I think he's one of the better young wing defenders in the league, especially if we're talking about with top end offensive talent. I think as far as two-way players go, I think he's going to be cemented as a fixture in this league going forward. Well, I believe we will come to talk about guys like Anthony Edwards, like we talk about guys like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And then from the personality standpoint and just being a star, like, listen, people love Anthony Edwards. And he's one of those people that you can't really qualify it. You can't quantify it. I mean, it's different. It's different. He's the guy who doesn't have to try to get everybody to like him. Right? So you know the guy who everybody's just super, super fucking charmed by, and you don't fucking get it. You even slightly hate on it. Like, you slightly don't like it. Like, he's not even saying anything particularly funny, and everybody's laughing. You're like, I'm fucking funnier than that guy. Or like, everybody thinks this guy is the nicest guy in the world, and you're like, I'm fucking nicer than that guy. Okay. Right? What we're figuring out right now is I got a lot of hate on my chest and a lot of hate on my heart that I need to get out, right? But I think that that's the perspective when you're looking at it. If you're Karl Anthony Towns and it's Anthony Edwards, and it's like, who are they going to keep? Like, the guy who doesn't kind of seems not to matter what he does, he can't get anything right, or the guy who is like effortlessly swaggy and also is checking all the right boxes. Like, you don't have to question anything about Anthony Edwards, and we can get into whether or not we think it's right to ask some of these questions about some of these players, because a lot of them are unwarranted nonsense based on like fan conjecture, but some of it is not. And also, Cat is older. Like, what you see is kind of what you get with Cat, and we're still seeing Anthony Edwards on an upward trajectory. And of course, they made the move to get Rudy Gobert in there, who I don't know how they're going to move that contract. I still don't think it was as bad of a decision as everybody else seems to think it was. But you don't know how they're going to move that contract. Cat's contract was always going to be infinitely easier to move because, you know, Cat's Q rating is much higher than Rudy Gobert's. I don't think anybody's Q rating can be as low as Rudy Gobert's is. When the other players in the league are outwardly disrespecting you at every chance they get, it's shocking to me. Given that these players, and we see this with foreign players, right? We see the slight xenophobia where it's like, oh, whoa. We not brothers like that. You know what I'm saying? Where they be like, it's a fraternity, we all brothers. Be like, oh, wait a minute, though. I don't really like when you do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it gets tough, right? You draw those lines. Those lines definitely get drawn. And Rudy Gobert is suffering from a little bit of foreign man syndrome. But he's not the only foreign player in the league. There are those who are being welcomed on a far greater level than him. But I just think that he's just the guy nobody likes. He's the French guy that nobody fucking likes, and I think there's a level of jealousy, and not that they're necessarily jealous of who he is as a basketball player, because I think a lot of his peers just quite frankly do not have very much respect. I can remember before he got to the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards saying something like how Porzingis was a much tougher person to finish around and over than Rudy Gobert was. And that now in hindsight, that take doesn't look as crazy because of what Porzingis has been for the Celtics recently. But at the time, I'll still argue that was grade A hate. That was, I am not letting you niggas frame this as if there's a problem, like I have a problem or we have a problem scoring with Rudy Gobert in the paint, because we simply do not respect him, and in fact, we hate him. Draymond, I'm still trying to figure out what he did to Draymond Green. I don't know. I know it doesn't take much to set Draymond off, but I have no idea what Rudy Gobert did to Draymond Green. Draymond Green just woke up one day and was like, I'm giving niggas hell. It's war. I don't care what happens. I don't care what they say about me. I won't let them say positive things about Rudy Gobert. I just fucking won't. And I'm sorry that it's devolved into this, but it's hard for me to talk about Rudy Gobert without talking about how much his peers hate him and don't respect him. I'm not sure what that's about. It's very upsetting. I'm not comfortable with it, but it is what it is. So the Knicks and the Wolves make this trade, right? Which I think is a huge, huge, huge fucking deal. First of all, Karl Anthony Towns is going to love it here because he's Dominican. Now, he's not like the most Dominican nigga you've ever met. He's not the most Dominican walking the planet Earth, but here's a great chance for him to discover some of his roots. I think that he'll be treated like a king here. And also the nickname that Salted Nets fans that I have decided for us that we're going to roll with is Bodega Cat, 110% as a nigga that's from the towns. I will say that Bodega Cat is the appropriate name, because the Bodega Cat has become the unofficial symbol in New York City. Cause God forbid you bring your fucking dog in a bodega like you can sometimes, but I done seen people turn up behind that shit. I done seen people turn up behind a motherfucker bring their dog in a bodega, and I remember just thinking like, you ain't gonna act like that when I bring my dog in here, cause I'm But, I think that this solves, I don't think that it solves a lot of issues for New York, but I think that this is a better trade for New York than I've heard a lot of people act like it was. Cat is another guy that gets disrespected a lot, right? And that was ironic. You can't have 2 7-footers on the same team that nobody respects. And so obviously the Minnesota had to do what they had to do. But Karl-Anthony Towns is still an incredibly dynamic player at the 5, right? Like he's still that. Like just because he didn't shake out to be as good as Joel Embiid, who we'll talk about later, doesn't mean that Cat is not a really, really, really fucking good player and a really, really good piece, and gives the Knicks this scoring dimension at the 5 and at the big man position period that they just haven't had. And you can play him at the 4 and play Mitchell Robinson when Mitchell Robinson gets back. We're doing a lot of talking like Mitchell Robinson's not coming back, and he is, right? And I think that you'll see the same type of deal that you saw in Minnesota, where a lot of the pressures of being a 5-man who can't defend the rim will be alleviated by simply not having him play the 5 and not having him defend the rim. So you got spacing, which I think every team could benefit from. So now you got spacing, and on top of that, just a dynamic scorer and an underrated athlete. On top of the fucking team they already had. They had Jalen Brunson. They're extremely deep at the wings. You got Josh Hart. You got Mikal Bridges. You got OG Anunoby. Like, this is a great roster on paper, in my opinion. And I think that they're closer right now to making some noise than they were last year. And they made noise last year. Jalen Brunson has won me over. I'm a believer. I wasn't always. I knew Jalen Brunson was good. I was there for his performances in Dallas the year before he got traded in the playoffs and what he did to, ironically, Rudy Gobert. I saw those things. I was there. I witnessed it. So it's not like I didn't know he was going to be good. I didn't know he was going to be this good. Like I can distinctly remember last year in the playoffs. I was watching a game at the bar I used to work at because it was a sports bar, and I remember the Knicks. Obviously, it was in New York, so the Knicks were on quite a bit, especially in the playoffs. And I remember, like, after like the 4th or 5th game of him putting up 30 plus in the most spectacular, dramatic fashion, and willing his team into games that honestly, at times, it seemed like maybe they weren't that keen on winning. I am a Jalen Brunson guy now. I have bought in. I started a my GM in 2K with him. It's happening. This is what we're doing, and this is where we are, and this is where I am with this. But I think that the trade, if in my opinion, the trade makes New York a much, much scarier team. Perhaps there's something I'm overlooking. Obviously, you don't have Hartenstein anymore, but you still have Robinson, and I just feel like this team is good. I like this team, and I like it better than I liked it last year. And perhaps I'm falling for the whole 2 dynamic player thing, where it's like maybe that's not the way it needs to be right now in the league anymore, and maybe there's a such thing as addition by subtraction or subtraction by addition, whatever the case may be. I'm willing to admit that I'm perhaps not seeing the forest for the trees here, but insofar as what I can gather, I would be willing to bet that this is a team that makes some noise in the East in the playoffs. I don't know how much noise any team is going to make with Boston sitting there, because it kind of feels like it's just a when you play Boston type of deal. Like, when you play Boston, you're fucking out of here. It's not happening, right? End of the road. But for Minnesota, I'm not moved at all. I don't know what's going on there. I still like Anthony Edwards. I still think the bones of that team is something that's really, really good, but I've never been the Julius Randle guy. Julius Randle has proven me wrong at certain junctures, sure. In certain ways, sure. But still, to me, has never been the caliber of player that he and some of his supporters, I think, would feel like he is. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's tough. I don't necessarily want Julius Randle being the guy that is playing with Anthony Edwards if it's my team. I don't necessarily know that their games are symbiotic in that way. I don't necessarily know if Julius Randle can be the best version of Julius Randle without taking something away from Anthony Edwards. And so what? Because what is a reduced Julius Randle? What does that look like, right? Like a solid to good rebounder, somebody who can make for others to a certain extent, somebody who can get you 15 to 20, right? I don't think that's why the Wolves got him. I don't think Julius Randle at this point in his life, at this point in his career, is here to be just like a cute guy that can get you 18 and 8, right? I think Julius Randle feels like he's a 25-point per game type of guy. And I don't even blame him for that, right? It just becomes, he's one of those guys that for me, it's like, great. As long as he's not on my team, I'm down for it. He's not on my team per se, but he's now on a team that I kind of give a fuck about. And a team that I thought was on an upward trajectory that I was excited to see what they did this year. I don't know that I'm excited to see what the Timberwolves do this year. I feel like I know what their ceiling is with Julius Randle. But I'm prepared to be proven wrong. I am. We got a lot going on this week in Salted Nestland, right? So Zion Williamson is somebody that I kind of wanted to talk about. It's still early in the season. The question this year is the same question that it is every year: is how healthy will Zion Williamson stay? How many games will he play, and will he be healthy and ready to go in the playoffs? The answer is now, as it's always been to me, I have no fucking idea. Now, he came into the season in ridiculous shape this year, but I would venture to say that Zion Williamson is always in ridiculous shape, right? Like he always is, whether he's heavier than he's supposed to be or not. It's still always, whoa, like look at this guy, right? And so it's like we do this a lot with Zion Williamson because clearly he's able to change his body composition in a way. Like clearly he's got one of those bodies that goes up and down, right? Like depending on like what he did last week. So sometimes he's bigger, sometimes he's slimmer, whatever the case may be. But it's like how long are we gonna marvel at the fact that this guy has an incredible physique? I don't care if he's chubby or thin. The guy's he might be the eighth world wonder. Right? It doesn't make any sense. He's like Charles Barkley if Charles Barkley like had an impressive body by NBA standards. The problem with him is he's phenomenal, but he can't stay healthy. And again, staying healthy, and a part of the thing that is real detrimental about him not being able to stay healthy is I think it inhibits his ability to build on what he was good at the year before and the year before that and the year before that. When you're fighting to get back to a baseline and to reestablish yourself, it's harder and harder to add these new pieces to your game. Now, a player at his talent level, of his age, is going to, by nature of the way this thing works, is going to add positive things and new wrinkles into his game. That is going to happen, point blank period. He's a player that's still coming into his prime and still developing. But I just feel like the conversation that it has just left him, the conversation of how good Zion could be in this league, is just, I don't hear it anymore, right? And I'm not the arbiter of these things. I'm not outside. I'm not at fucking Bristol headquarters. I don't hear that conversation anymore, though, and I feel like a lot of fans forget about him because he's hard to factor into the milieu of the current NBA. Like, where is this thing going? Is he going to be a Pelican? These are questions that are just up in the air, like nobody knows. And that team is one that I think has been dying for some continuity, like to try to establish something, and they're trying to build it piece by piece. But it's hard when you can guarantee your best player is going to be out for a significant amount of the season, and you can't gauge whether that's going to be a pivotal part of the season or not. Like the Orlando Magic. The first 2 weeks of the season, I was extremely excited about where Orlando Magic were going to go. And now Paolo Banchero is out for like 4 to 6 weeks, and it's up in the fucking air. I don't know. Right? So with Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, it seems pretty clear that they're looking to move on from Brandon Ingram in some capacity if they can. Now they've got DeJounte Murray on the team. I don't know. This strikes me as a team that has wasted time, not wasted in a sense of them having done something wrong, but simply through a bunch of bad breaks have wasted opportunities for continuity and growth. And now you're looking to change, to make some major changes to this roster. For what? I don't know, because you don't even know if this roster works yet. And there have been times where we've seen the bones of this roster be something to be excited about. And at least Brandon Ingram in this awkward position where like he's one of those guys now, like where it's like he's kind of, it's got some Julius Randle to it. He's much better than Julius Randle, if you ask me. I think that the value of Brandon Ingram is nowhere near in question. But what is your value to these teams? The team that you're on right now seems to think that you and Zion Williamson, that's going to be hard to build a core around you. And maybe it is. Listen, the new rules, as far as financial situations, have left a lot of teams strapped, have left a lot of teams having to figure out what they're going to do because the way that they were looking to build their team, or the way that their team was set up, is simply not the way that the current NBA is going to allow them to continue to be and to succeed. So Zion Williamson is somebody that I'm going to keep my eye on this season, but I don't know how hard I'm going to keep my eye on him, because again, it just feels like I'm wasting my time to a certain extent until I have like solid evidence that like, okay, this is going to be a season that we can like make some sort of inference from. And like always, I have no idea how he feels about being a Pelican. I have no idea if he's going to make an exit, an ugly exit from that franchise. I don't even know what Zion looks like on another franchise, or what franchise to try to put him with and be like, well, you know, these guys are a Zion away. I don't know who's a Zion away, because I don't know what the fuck a Zion is. I know he's one of the most efficient inside scorers that we've seen in some fucking time, maybe since Shaq, right? I know that he's a 25 to 30 point a game scorer if he can stay healthy, and just through the natural growth and progression of his game. I know that he's got you know, some skills handling the ball and playmaking for others. Maybe not like top of the line as far as that's concerned, but he's a great player, right? He's going to be a Hall of Famer if he can stay healthy. These are things that we know. Now it's time to see how much he can impact winning, which I suspect is a great deal, but I don't know. So prayers up for Zion Williamson. Not because nothing's wrong with him, but because I just want him to have one successful, healthy season, and then a great playoff run. He deserves it. He deserves it. I mean, listen, he not out here with guns. Ja Morant, who, as I'm recording this, by the way, just had like 2 360 ridiculous layups, like 2 lifetime highlight reel level layups in the same fucking game. And I just feel like, of course, it's against my Nets. They're playing the Nets right now, and this is what it is to be a Nets fan. People just come to my team to get off, bro. This is what they do. They come into the Barclays and they disrespect my flag. They come in here and they shit all over Brooklyn and they do whatever the fuck they want to do. There's no fucking reason that Ja Morant is getting 2 of the iciest, sauciest 360 layups off in a game that I've ever seen. One of them was like a fake dunk. Like he took off like he was going to dunk that shit and then 360 laid it up. Video game shit that doesn't happen in real life. This is what happens to the Nets, which is a perfect segue, I would like to say, to Ben Simmons. Stop. I just want the nonsense to stop. Just fucking stop, man. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing the entire city of Brooklyn. I'm going to claim us as a city because we are. Fuck you. But you're embarrassing the entire city of Brooklyn. I am so sick and tired of coming into seasons and hearing Ben Simmons tell me that I have forgotten how good he is at basketball. My nigga, nobody cares about you. Nobody's paying attention to you. Nobody's looking at you. You have outlived your usefulness as a point of conversation. Like, this is done. This is done, and it's getting embarrassing, and I need you to stop. I need you to just be really, really quiet and let us be pleasantly surprised if you play at all or if you don't fucking suck. I'm not here to shit on you. I'm not here to shit on you, Ben. This is an intervention. This is a conversation. This is a dialogue, and I just want you to know that you're full of shit and that we hate you, and it's not personal. We don't hate you for any reason other than the fact that you're a royal, tremendous douche, and you're not fun to listen to talk, and you don't garner belief. We don't believe in you, Ben. And why we don't believe in you is because you don't even believe in yourself. I don't even believe you. When you get on television or you get on these places and you tell us that we forgot how good you are, how good are you? I think I have a handle on what you are. You're a 6'10" point guard. You're pretty good at creating for others, mostly in transition, but like you're definitely above average at that. Definitely really good at creating for others when you're in transition and you're doing your thing. You're kind of like 6'10" Lonzo like that. Like he could be like 6'10" Lonzo top end, right? Like when there was a time there when he was like really good multi-positional defender. Right? There was a time there where you could put him on a power forward and you could put him on Damian Lillard and you could just see what the fuck happened and something would happen, right? The amount of time that it's been and Ben Simmons is still not taking jump shots to me is comical. It's comical. I don't understand it. There's been talk of like it being a mental block, and this is really why I've never said anything before now, because I truly did believe that something was mentally wrong with him and the fact that he won't take threes. But no, I think it's his douchery. I think he's such a fucking douchebag that it's to prove everybody wrong. It's to show us that he doesn't need to take threes, that he doesn't need to stretch the floor. I don't think he's good enough to not need to stretch the floor. Granted, right? You could say he's 6'10" Jason Kidd. I've heard that. And Jason Kidd couldn't stretch the floor for a long time, but he was putting the motherfuckers up. And eventually he learned how to stretch the floor. What is the point of refusing to take 3-pointers in the NBA? You won't even grace us with a corner three? Are we not worthy? I'm tired of Ben Simmons. I fully understand the Philadelphia thing. When I accepted Ben Simmons into this team, it was under the condition that we had Kyrie and we had Kevin Durant, and there was a lot of different things going for the squad. We don't have those things anymore. There's no need for him still to be here. I'm sure that he's only still here because it is laughable, the idea of moving off his contract, the idea of unloading him onto someone else who's foolish enough to take on our burden, right? Ben Simmons, you are our failure child. You are the bad egg. You're the child that we had that we just have to love because you're ours. But everybody knows you're a shithead, and we can't even argue. When people go, that son of yours is a fucking cunt. Yeah. But he's mine, and I'm going to stick beside him. Only I'm not. I cannot wait for us to get up out from under Ben Simmons. I can't imagine that we'll have Ben Simmons on the team for much longer. I feel like this is the last year of his contract, but I'm not 100% sure whether or not there's a player option or some fuck shit like that. Listen, it's time to move on. Shout out to Cam Thomas. I want to show love where love is due, right? This team is not, we're back in the phase where I'm not really paying attention to Brooklyn Nets basketball. All right. I'm sorry. I'm not paying that much attention to Brooklyn Nets basketball. I simply have better things to do. I refuse to waste my life. But Cam Thomas, I want to send a shout out to because he's kind of caught up in that weird zone where it's like he's clearly a walking 30 piece. But I'm just not sure what that means. Right? Because he's playing what is the equivalent of a fucking church league. He's playing for the fucking Brooklyn Nets. I can't gauge how meaningful anything he does is because no games for us, nothing we do is meaningful. So Cam Thomas is out there playing his little heart out. He is the little engine that could. And it means nothing. It means nothing. I hope he gets paid. I hope we pay him when the time comes. I truly do hope that Cam Thomas can either be a piece that develops into something that secures us our future, or develops into something where he can be one of the major pieces of our future. But I'm going to stop trying to infer some kind of direction from where the Brooklyn Nets are. I'm done. This is the Salted Nets podcast. That's the hilarity of it. Me saying that. But it's true. I am simply tired of this abusive relationship. I've never even been that big on fan culture, and y'all got me to come around, right? This is the problem with it. It sucks you in. When we got Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be a fan and like actually be invested and actually care. And it was the worst decision I ever made in my life. It was the worst decision I ever made in my life. My organization attached itself to two of the most finicky and weirdo niggas in the NBA as far as stardom is concerned. Nothing personal, nothing against them. Kevin Durant has done nothing that I can see and I can point to that means that somebody should dislike him or to stand a third. He's a little weird. Kyrie Irving is a whole other ball game. Can't stand him. I'm genuinely upset when good things happen in Kyrie Irving's life. I've had to temper myself about that. I've had to learn to live with the fact that good things will continue to happen for Kyrie Irving. I don't like it. Him in the finals this year really bothered me. I want him to fail. I want him to fail much more often than he's failing, and I struggle with that as a person because I feel like if God loved me, Kyrie Irving's life wouldn't be going so well right now. But that's fine. I can let things go. I'm over it. Those are my thoughts on the Nets. I only because again, and shout out to the people in the Brooklyn Nets fan community. I know that none of you guys can afford to speak like this, but thankfully I've been keeping it honest from the jump as far as my feelings that I'm just not as in love with the team as you guys are. I'm not. I've never been. I'm not a traditional fan in that sense where like there's a point where I get off the ride. I'm still a fan. I just don't like to participate in fan culture and fan behavior. I think sometimes it can get strange, and I couldn't say some of these things because I'd have to be worried. I'd have to be worried about how my guys feel. They're not my guys. Okay. As a matter of fact, I've been thinking about jumping ship to the Knicks. I'm not going to because I won't give my friends the satisfaction. But that's how bad the Nets have been as far as the soap opera goes, is that I've seriously considered leaving Nets fandom and for the first time in my life becoming a fan of the New York Knicks. And listen. Anyway, in another case of a team that's more exciting than my Nets, the 76ers have been interesting. They've been interesting. Paul George and Joel Embiid have not played, and yet they've still found a way to keep things fresh, keep things interesting. This is this Nexus point, right? This is like Joel Embiid and Paul George being on the same team. First of all, very similar to Kawhi Leonard and Paul George being on the same team. I peep Paul George. I'm a fan of that. I respect lateral movement. That is a very lateral move. That probably feels like you're right at home. Like you're in Philadelphia, but it's the same type of shit. Like you and some guy whose knee will never be the same. But Paul George is fairly injury prone. Joel Embiid is perhaps the final boss of being hurt. And they're now on the same team. And Joel Embiid announced a few weeks ago that he's probably not going to be playing back-to-backs. And what I think that really means is I got together with some doctors and some people smarter than I, and they don't think that playing back-to-backs is a good idea. And this is, again, the discourse, I think, in modern sports, especially around the NBA, is just piss poor. And there's no excuse for it. I don't like the way people like Stephen A. Smith talk about players who are chronically injured, who they know. Like when Stephen A. Smith criticizes Kawhi Leonard in certain ways, he knows 100% because he's been an inside reporter at times in his life, and he has access to a lot more information than your average person does, right? He just chooses to go on his platforms and act a fool, and it's fine. He's been very successful at it, and who am I to tell him? Far be it from me to tell him it doesn't work. It's working out great for Stephen A. Smith. He should never listen to anything I say. But it's nonsense, and it poisons the minds of the viewers. So now we got guys that are coming under this huge fucking fire, and I don't know what they're supposed to do. Like, it is totally fair for people to say that Joel Embiid may not be the greatest ROI. That may not be the greatest return on investment that you can get from a player. I totally 110% understand the concern with a player who has missed somewhere around 50% of his NBA games due to injury. I also would like to know what you want Joel Embiid to do. Do you want him to play 82 games, limp across the finish line, and then never play again? Do you want him to say, no, I think I'll pass on $50 million a year. I don't think I'm worth it, and I couldn't in good conscience. Nick, what do you want Joel Embiid to do? Do you want him to give the money back? Because if you do, fuck you. Who's giving the money back? This makes no sense. Joel Embiid is doing exactly what he's supposed to do, fighting for his fucking life because he's pre-arthritic. This is what life is like. Kawhi Leonard is doing exactly what he's supposed to do and has been. If Kawhi Leonard's career was in the hands of you guys, of you absolute psychopaths, then Kawhi Leonard's career would have been over forever ago. These are the simple facts. What happened with Kawhi Leonard when they leaked all that information that he was very upset that was leaked, but I think was actually extremely vindicating for him. And I think it worked out the best that it could because it gave a chance for the informed fan of the sport and of the game to figure out what was really going on and what was wrong with him. So many of these players deal with real life chronic injuries that if they didn't take certain precautions, their careers would be significantly shortened. And too many fans don't give a fuck about that. Like, you hear the idiots online talk, oh, Allen Iverson played through all this shit and everything like that, and that's why they love him. Okay, he shouldn't have done that, though. In my opinion, in reasonable opinion, in the opinions of doctors, in the opinions of people that work in kinesiology or whatever the fuck you want to call it, like whatever the fuck you want to call it, there's smart decisions and there are poor decisions. And for optimal performance from your body and the longest career you could enjoy and the most money you could make, a guy like Joel Embiid playing back-to-backs, a guy like Kawhi Leonard playing back-to-backs and not taking significant time off during the course of an 82-game season it's stupid. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. These are the kinds of players that we're talking about here. What do you want to see? Do you want to see somebody like diminished in the way that Derrick Rose was diminished? I'm not saying that Derrick Rose clearly there was something deeper beneath the surface with Derrick Rose, and then perhaps he just never got around to right professionals, or sports medicine wasn't where it needed to be, or perhaps his body just simply couldn't take it. But because Derrick Rose took a significant amount of time off and still was never the same. When you got a player like Joel Embiid, when you got a player like Kawhi Leonard, what they're weighing is, can I still be an amazing player? What do I have to be to still be an amazing player as often as I can? And the answer to that is to not play as much. So when Joel Embiid finds him in these places where when he finds himself in these places where he's being questioned by these pundits and these writers who have more inside access, and perhaps that would lend itself to a different opinion. Perhaps he's bullshitting. Maybe these guys know something that I don't. I don't think that. I mean, I do think they know things I don't, but I don't think that in terms of this, that's what it is. I just think that there are people who aren't very empathetic to athletes who are injured because they make a lot of fucking money. And if they're chronically injured, they feel like, yo, you should just play through it. This is kind of what you signed up for. I don't think you get to tell that to a guy who sat out like his first 2 years and didn't know whether or not he would ever be the same and be able to play. A guy if you look at his basketball reference page, has had his fair share of seasons where he couldn't suit up the amount of times that he wanted to. And it goes to these weird places where Joel Embiid is now beefing with the city of Philadelphia in a way where he says he feels like he's done too much. This is a reporter, I think his name is Marcus Hayes. He feels like he's done too much for the city for him to be treated the way it is. And I have news for you, Joel Embiid. I don't know where you're from. I do know where you're from. You're from Cameroon in Africa. I don't know how you guys treat your children and your babies and your celebrities there. But with respect to the fact that celebrity culture is horseshit anyway, and nobody knows you anything, nobody owes you anything, and we don't fucking know you, my guy. So it's weird that you want me to love you and I don't fucking know you. It's weird that you buy into fan nonsense. Motherfucker wants you to sign his jersey and you think he cares about you. That's fine. But I don't know how y'all do it there, but over here we eat our babies, okay? We prop you up so that we can murder you and cannibalize you. That's what we do here, and if you're not okay with it, you should probably go somewhere else. I don't know, go to France. But here in the United States of America, we do things the old-fashioned way, okay? We consume our own. We eat them. We destroy them. We bury them in our backyards and dig them up so that we can nibble on the gristle. That's what we do, JoJo. I'm sorry. So you're talking about you did all this for Philadelphia. My nigga, stop. Fans don't love you, nor should they. You play basketball for a team in the city that the majority of the people who probably are fans of you cannot afford to go and watch you play. It's not that serious for you to be taking it so personal. You're making a lot of money. That doesn't mean you don't get to have feelings, but I do think that this is a fair and equal transaction. I think you're getting paid a lot of money by a basketball team. I think when you walk around town, you're the man. I think that you get what you want. Most times you're out in the city, and I think that you deal with shitty press when you're not playing because they're, the fans and a lot of the reporters are ignorant idiots. That's just how that goes. But let's look into what a reporter said because things got real messy and Joel Embiid ended up putting his hands on a reporter. I'm gonna read what the reporter wrote that set Joel Embiid off because I can understand. I think he's wrong. Why are you putting your hands on this man? He didn't put his hands on you. But here's what was said. Joel Embiid consistently points to the birth of his son, Arthur. It's going here, by the way. 100%. We're talking about his son now. Joel Embiid consistently points to the birth of his son, Arthur, as the major inflection point in his basketball career. He often says that he wants to be great to leave a legacy for the boy named after his little brother, who tragically died in an automobile accident when Embiid was in his first year as a 76er. This is where we're going. This is where we're going. I would love to be in this gotta be, how old is this guy? This can't be a youngin', right? This has gotta be like some old grizzled throwback. I gotta know how old Marcus Hayes is, and I don't. And I'll figure it out and we'll talk about it. But this is some real old white man behavior, man. This is some real old white man writing. And if it's not, it's like very Jason Whitlocky. Right? Like, yeah, the guy, and you know what? Bomani Jones says, I think he said on his last podcast too, he was like, this is what happens, because he doesn't think athletes should put their family and stuff like that in front of the bullets that they take, right? Like, you want to convince us all that, like, everything is, like, when we're trying to talk about you, you want to talk about your family. And this is how things kind of get. Like, you just want to keep them away from that. Like, it's like you were playing before you had a kid, right? So maybe your kid doesn't have to be the reason you play, but I don't even know. I don't even know where this came from, right? Like, Joel Embiid could have never done that. I've never heard I didn't even know Joel Embiid had a kid. Nor did I know, and this would seem to have been something that a lot of people knew, nor did I know that Joel Embiid lost his brother in a tragic accident and that his son is named after his brother. But this article smacks of really fuckery. It's Joel Embiid consistently points to the birth of his son Arthur. It just implies that Joel Embiid is like being dishonest about that, and it just implies that like his dead brother and son deserve better. It's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? And if he follows it up with, well, in order to be great at your job, you first have to show up for work. Stop trying to compare professional athletics to regular jobs. Joel Embiid is showing up for work. He's there, right? He's there when he needs to be there. He's on the bench, but he's fucking there. It's not the same. It's not the same. This is like when the owner or the CEO of whatever company you works for is like on vacation every 3 weeks or whatever. Like, it's not that he's not showing up to work. It's that showing up to work for him and showing up to work for you is not the same thing. And we have to stop resenting these athletes for that. There's no reason for you to resent professional athletes. It has nothing to do with you. It doesn't. It's really as simple as a lot of people watch this motherfucker play. He's able to drive dollars, and therefore he gets dollars. Why are you upset? Why do you feel robbed? And why do you feel like you're a spokesperson for the city of Philadelphia? Why is there such vitriol? And I don't even think this person meant it that way. I think when you're this type of fucking asshole, and he's not the worst. This isn't the worst shit that's ever happened in media. But I think when you're like, and I'm not even saying asshole in the worst kind of way. I just mean like, some of us can be assholes. We're assholes. We all know people who are like, yeah, no, I'm an asshole. It's what I do. I don't mean any harm. I'm really harmless, but I'm an asshole. So he accuses Joel Embiid of not showing up for work, which, listen, you take that how you want to take it. You can see it how you want to see it. Embiid has been great at just the opposite, he continues. Now in his 11th season, he consistently has been in poor condition. Fair. Joel Embiid has not been in the greatest condition. I'm not going to argue with you there. He has not always been in a great condition. This poor condition apparently seems to have delayed his debut this season. Embiid won't play in Wednesday's opener of the next 2 games. Now, Embiid was fucking furious. And the injury stuff is a minefield to talk about. And being a fan can make your perspective on it and this convo so fucking ignorant, where the way we talk about these athletes and the investments that they and the team make into their bodies is trivial and disrespectful. I gotta read the script for y'all on this. Like, this is coming from a script because it's ridiculous. I gotta make a coherent statement when I just want to talk bullshit. That being said, you can't put hands on the reporter, JoJo. What are you doing? You're a 7'2", 300-pound African. Why would you ever think you could put your hands on that man? And I get it. He saw him. He's probably going to get this nigga to business. Yo, sometimes you make up your mind that you're going to yell at somebody and you just end up pushing them. You just end up hitting them because you just get into it and you're like, yeah. And maybe he looked at you kind of smug. Maybe he was like, yeah, I did say that. You're like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why'd you say that? And he's like, I don't know. What is wrong with me? And you just slap the shit out of him. It's like that sometimes. I feel for you. But what I can't be empathetic for, how old is Joel Embiid? Pushing 30? How long has he been doing this? Again, you can't. I'm not gonna make you out to be the biggest baby on planet Earth, but I'm also not gonna infantilize you. At that point, you're making a choice, right? You didn't see him. He made some comment about that article earlier in the week, and it's fucking Monday, but you know what I mean. And about how he couldn't see him or couldn't find him at the time. Like, you was stewing on this. This shit was sitting around, and you started getting in your head. You started convincing yourself, nah, because why would he talk about my son, though? Because why would he talk about my brother? And I feel you. That's painful. I've lost people. I know what it's like, right? And listen, I ain't gonna lie. Like, I lost somebody fairly recently, and nobody has ever disrespected that person. I can't even tell you how I would react. I think I could. I'm pretty sure I'm the type of nigga that would be like, well, I know you're trying to get a rise out of me, and therefore won't allow you to get one. But we all have things that we're sensitive about. And he lost somebody very important, and you just didn't have to write that article that way. I think this person has been roundly excoriated by other media members for the way that he wrote that article. But you can't hit the guy. You're not helping your case. People are angry with you for missing games. And I'm with you on the injury tip. Whatever your doctors and the people who care about you and the people who stand to benefit from the investment into your body that professional sports is, whatever they tell you is the smartest thing to do is the smartest thing to do. The Spurs put pressure on Kawhi Leonard to come back early from an injury that they wildly underestimated, and he had every right to say, fuck you, you don't understand what's going on here, and he did. And look at him now. Look at him now. We now know with 100% certainty that the Spurs were totally fucking wrong, and they're a class organization, but they were totally fucking wrong. Tony Parker's a piece of shit for what he said to him. Not in general. TP, not in general. You're not a piece of shit for anything else, but you said something that evoked piece of shittery when you were talking about Kawhi Leonard's injury compared to yours. Like, because at the end of the day, Kawhi Leonard's injury had to have been magnitudes worse than yours, despite what you said, because yours didn't essentially end your career or change it permanently like Kawhi Leonard's did. It ended his career as far as like playing a shit ton of games every year and being somebody that a team could depend on. Like, that all ended in San Antonio. But we're done with the Joel Embiid drama because I don't have much to say about it yet. I really want to see Joel Embiid play. I don't know that I want to see Joel Embiid throw away his career to play more games, but I'm not a Philly fan because I'm not a fan. That's not my get down. You know who is a fan? A man who I really try my hardest never to talk about, but who is so good at making himself the center of fuckery. Aubrey Graham, I need you to stop. I need you to stop. This is the thing. Drake, he nuzzles his way into everything. He just nestles in and just gets real comfortable in places where you thought you were safe from him. But like, he's done a lot as far as this basketball shit about being like inescapable. Especially as somebody who was the brand ambassador, the ambassador for the Toronto Raptors, a position that he did not deserve. I've been laying in wait for so long. I just want to say, Drake, you didn't deserve to be brand ambassador for the Toronto Raptors, and you don't deserve to have anything to do with the NBA, in my opinion. Now, granted, you bring money, they'll pay you. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter what I think you deserve. Go get that money, Aubrey. I don't have to like you to say, go get that money. But my problem is he gets his lame juice all over everything that you love. And this is why you can't let him near anything that you love. You like it. Oh, let's say you like a female artist or an R&B singer, and you're like, oh, she's nice. I like her album. And now all of a sudden she's partying with Drake, and it's like, oh, she's lame. Drake gets his lame juice all over everything. Now, Drake just had the beef with Kendrick Lamar. I don't have to tell you that. One of the unforeseen consequences of the beef with Kendrick Lamar is there's DeMar DeRozan, which is an incredibly interesting thing. He's a Compton born, he's born and raised in Compton, California, but spent the majority of his career as like the best player in Toronto Raptors history. So him and Drake had a very, very close relationship, but so did he and Kendrick Lamar, apparently. And he shows up in a Not Like Us video, and Drake is understandably tight. He's miffed. He's furious in a lot of ways, right? And so, his response to the Not Like Us situation was all-time lamery, all-time fuckery, and that's what he's good at. He gets on the NBA broadcast the other night, right after, I believe this is when they were retiring Vince Carter's jersey. But nothing can be about anybody else when Drake is in the building. Aubrey has to make it all about himself. All of it. So they're talking about perhaps DeMar DeRozan's jersey being raised into the Raptors one day as well, because guess who's there that night playing? DeMar DeRozan. This is beautiful. It's a storybook moment. Vince Carter, who in a lot of ways is kind of like the prototype to a player like DeMar DeRozan. Not really 100%, but a high-flying wing. They both play for Toronto. It's cute. There's a little bit more to DeMar's game. There's some wrinkles that would suggest that maybe Vince Carter's not the biggest influence, but very few people can jump as high as those gentlemen do and have. And so they mentioned something about putting DeMar DeRozan's jersey up there next, and Drake says he would go up there and take it down himself. You are operating in the capacity of the ambassador. Maybe he's not anymore. Maybe the Toronto Raptors wisened up and got him far away from the party. I think I remember hearing something about him needing to be more committed to those duties in general. Bro, everything's not about you. And then on top of that, what are you talking about? Are you a Toronto Raptors super fan or not? You got this fucking beef with DeMar DeRozan. What does that have to do with what he did for the team? What does that have to do with all the times you were on his fucking dick on the sidelines? Right? Like, I don't understand why now you have to insert your issue with this guy because you can't separate the two, right? Because for some reason, Drake never has to separate personal and professional. And most rappers don't. But it's just so weird to me. And again, we live in a world where, like, Snoop Dogg has a cooking show with Martha Stewart, right? And I'm all for redemption. But, like, Snoop Dogg, like, still, in a lot of ways, promotes some gang fuckery and, like, that's like a murder charge and shit like that. Like, it's been expunged. It's been expunged. I'm not saying any of this to say that I have a problem with Snoop Dogg. I'm simply saying we exist in a world. We exist in a world where pop rap entertainers oftentimes don't look. They just gave Durk a key to the city, and he's a homicidal maniac. Lil Durk is a homicidal maniac. He's about to go to jail for ruining lives and communities. And they gave him the key to the city. I'm just trying to draw comparisons and just show y'all, just illustrate what's going on here. I'm not saying that Drake is a mass murdering psychopath, but he's just as bad. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I hate him. He's a bad guy. He's terrible. I want to see bad things happen to him. And that is tough for me because I don't like celebrity culture and I don't like being this invested in somebody's life. But if he's going to be forced down my throat, pause, at every instance, I would like for no good to come to him. I'm sorry. Like, my girl was watching Degrassi and he got shot. And I kind of smiled. Like, I forgot. Like, it's different now. Like, it's different. Like, it's nice to turn on the TV and see Drake get paralyzed from the waist down due to gun violence. Like, it is. It makes me extremely happy because he's this type of guy. He's this type of guy. And the beauty of it is that, like, Drake is able to separate personal and professional. He just knows he doesn't have to. And this is what it feels like. And this is what Kendrick, who's not the greatest messenger. And this is the Salted Nets podcast. This is Fallen in the Forest content. This shouldn't even be on this podcast. But here he is inserting himself into my other safe space. Right? Because basketball couldn't be my safe space away from him. I look up, he's in 2K10. You know what I mean? Remember when he was in remember when him and Bow Wow? Okay, you know what? We're past that. I don't want to take us back to darker times, but I'm just saying, like, why is this guy so terrible for society at large? I don't know. So the DeMar DeRozan thing is something that Drake just can't handle. And no, that's what I was going to say. I just feel like Drake knows that rap is a place where he can play in our faces. I do. And I don't like him twisting that wound because he's right. It is. But that's the white guy in him. And there's a lot of black guys that know it too. There's a lot of the black rappers would be like, you could tell it's kind of tongue in cheek. Like, it's charming when I do this. They're gonna let me get away with this. But when Drake does it, it feels like it's the white guy in him. It feels like it's just like, I can play here. Like, I can wow the fuck out in this space. I feel it, and it's true. And so you have him on the broadcast as somebody who's a former or current, not sure, because I'm not doing research right now, ambassador of the team, trash talking DeMar DeRozan. If you look at his accomplishments, if you look at Toronto Raptor history, it's like DeMar DeRozan first, DeMar DeRozan first, DeMar DeRozan first, DeMar DeRozan first. Like, what are we talking about here? You can't put your ego away for 2 seconds. We know you're mad at DeMar DeRozan, Aubrey. We know this because you won't let us forget it, right? But this is my impassioned plea to the NBA. My impassioned plea, please get Drake far away from anything. You won't, because Drake plus anything equals millions of dollars. And if I was a business owner, I would let Drake get close to my business too. But I'm tired of Drake, and he's going to ruin the Toronto Raptors for me. As a matter of fact, I don't think I'll be paying attention to the Toronto Raptors this season. Good luck, Scotty Barnes. Good luck to the rest of the crew. whom I can't name. But fuck it. I got too lost in that, and we're running out of time because I don't want to give y'all that much more than an hour, and we're already pushing up against like 55 minutes. So I got to pick between like the last 3 topics, or I got to run through them, speed run through them. I think I'll speed run through them because I don't have much to say about any of these things. It's really, really early, and like the only observations I can make are the same ones you've already made. Is this the year for OKC? I'm not sure. I know Chet has taken a huge leap. Chet Holmgren seems to be one of those players that's going to be phenomenal from jump. That's going to be better every single year, right? I mean, that goes without saying, but like, he just seems like one of those players that we're never going to have to account for the fact that he's young and just be like, oh man, like, no, to me, he'll get better, but he does not inhibit your chance of winning it all. The fact that he's a second-year player takes nothing. It takes nothing away from OKC's chance to win it all, right? So, will they? I'm not 100% sure, but I do want to see OKC go extremely deep in the playoffs this year. I would love to see them represent the West in the finals. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is again on a path. I think I said this last year that, like, I mean, I could have said it the year before too, but he's on a path I don't know how many people foresaw. Like, I remember when he was an interesting player for the Clippers who was like phenomenal at making transition outlet passes and shit like that. And was just like, oh, this guy's a great passer. Never in a million years did I imagine that he would be one of the greatest scorers the league has ever seen. That he would be like unfucking guardable. That all the players across the league would be singing his praises. That he would be in MVP contention. Like, and it all happened like really, really rapidly. It all happened really, really rapidly, and it feels like the next logical way for this to go is for OKC to be a serious problem in the playoffs and to possibly make a finals. We just saw the Mavericks do it last year. Ironically, one of the biggest comps Shai Gilgeous gets, I think, is Luka. Not to say that they're extremely similar, but like I hear a lot of who's better talk, and I've got news for you. It's Luka. I'm sorry. I want it to be Shai, quite frankly, because I'm racist, but it's not. I have to go Luka, but I'm on OKC watch, and I'm not alone. This is what I'm telling you right now is just nothing prophetic about it at all. This is the most mundane statement I've ever made. We're watching out for OKC. Shout out to the Celtics. Bass isn't here, but I do got to give a round of applause to his boys. The Celtics have just come out like a fucking raging fire. Absolutely looking like the defending champs. Looking every bit as hungry as they say they are. Jaylen Brown is still insufferable, and it's not his fault. You guys made him insufferable, but he is a guy that I can't stand. First of all, I can't stand. Oh my God, I'm going to do this now. I can't stand to hear Jaylen Brown talk because I do think he's a bit of a pseudo intellectual. Not to say he's not intelligent, but I just think certain guys, when they think they're smarter than they are, even when they're really smart, can just become unbearable to listen to talk. And I think that Jaylen Brown is that guy. I never want to hear Jaylen Brown talk. I've never, ever been interested in a single thing he has to say. And I feel for him there because a lot of people seem to feel similarly because he can't get any love. He didn't make the Olympic team. And he was finals MVP. And that's the other thing. He was finals MVP and conference finals MVP. And I don't know a single person that thinks he's better than Jason Tatum. I don't know a single person that thinks he's better than Jason Tatum. I don't. I've been watching the starting 5 thing. Jason Tatum's on there. No Jaylen Brown. Maybe he'll be on this year. I forgot. They announced the list of people players that are going to be on this season of starting 5 on Netflix, which is a good watch. Everybody's seen it by now. I'm extremely late to the party, so I'm not going to tell you to go watch it because you've already seen it. But I feel for Jaylen Brown. Right? Having trouble with the shoe deal. But I will say this. You being unbearable to listen to talk may have something to do with some of your problems. Not all of them. You're getting the raw end of the deal. Right? Top 3 draft pick, really, really accomplished in this league, but like it seems like all the credit for the accomplishments go to the other guy who sometimes you perform better than on the biggest stage. But yeah, no, Jason Tatum for president, and I wish Jaylen Brown a lot of luck. I just don't ever want to hear him talk. But the Celtics, they're barnstorming. They're doing what they need to do. This 3-point run that they're on is ridiculous. It's ridiculous how much 3-point shooting changes year to year. That like I remember when the Warriors remember when we thought the Warriors were like the most 3-happy team we would ever fucking see, and it was just like, yo, you couldn't imagine. And now it feels like there are teams where, like, of course they don't have Steph and Clay. That top end is like come on, I don't even have to say that. Like, they don't have Steph and Clay, but like they are better 3-point shooting rosters, I think, as a whole, than the Warriors ever were walking around, right? And a part of it is something that the Warriors benefited too. Is like, you really only need a couple guys to be elite or really, really good at 3-point shooting, and the rest of the niggas just got to be better than average. For real. I don't know how many niggas on the Celtics I think are snipers. I don't know, but nobody takes or makes as many threes as them, and they're shooting at a crazy clip as a team. And I don't know if I think a single motherfucker on that team is a sniper, like a 5-alarm fire if you leave them open. I don't know. I would have to think about it. I have to crunch some numbers, and maybe somebody would come up as a surprise, and I'd be like, oh my God, actually, this guy's been a 5-alarm fire for years. But yeah, the Celtics, we got to make some noise. See, Biggs wouldn't believe that I would make some noise for the Celtics without him being directly next to me. He thinks I hate the Celtics, and it's not that I hate the Celtics, it's that I don't like for Biggs to feel joy. And so when the Celtics are good, he's happy, and obviously we have a conflict of interest there. We'll end this podcast talking about the Bucks. What the fuck? I don't know what's going on in Milwaukee. I know that Giannis needs to leave. We need to get the Greek freak out of there. The Nigerian nightmare needs to take his fucking leave. We're done. We're done here. This looks lame. It's not looking cool. It's not dope. I'm finished with it. A ring has already been won. I mean, it'd be nice to see Giannis stay. Like, that'll be dope. Like, finish out your career there. You've already won, whatever, I guess. But I'd say it feels like it's about time for Big Giannis to take his leave. Right? Either that or some serious restructuring of the team has to happen. And that might take 2 or 3 years. And I don't know if he's got that in him. I don't know if he wants to wait. I know. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. Maybe Giannis is Dirk Nowitzki. We want all the foreigners to be Dirk Nowitzki, because Dirk Nowitzki will just sit there and take it. Anyway, we want that, right? He got his ring early. He doesn't even have to wait until like the twilight years to get the ring. It's already there. But he's got to be frustrated, and I am right there with him, because much like Giannis is probably laying in his bed every night thinking to himself over and over, well, he's probably not doing much thinking when he's laying in bed, because Giannis is like with respect to the fact that he's a married man and he is talking about his wife, Giannis being like the most horny nigga in the league is just something that I wasn't really ready for. I didn't think we were going down this chapter, but it's a footnote. I don't want to make this about that, but it is a footnote. Giannis Antetokounmpo is incredibly horny, and him and his wife, mostly him, because it's him leaving the comments, and she doesn't ever really say anything crazy back, but we know you're fucking your wife, dude. We know that. Like, we assume that. Like, everybody in the country goes to sleep at night pretty sure that you're having sex with your wife. I don't know why you think that we want to see that, or that we want to see how much you're attracted. Like, I get it. Like, it's cute. Hey, you look good, da-da-da. But it's like, I'm tired of seeing you put eggplant emojis underneath your wife's photographs. You're really, really, really famous. You're really famous, and a lot of kids have you on Instagram. Not that the kids don't know, but a little decorum, sir. I know you're Greek. I know you eat. I don't know if it's a gyro thing. I don't know if that's racist. I know you're also Nigerian. This is a horny combination, right? A Nigerian who grew up in Greece. We got two very, very horny influences at work here, and Giannis it feels to me like he's just too horny, and it's gonna come back to bite him in the ass. But he's got to be wondering why this thing isn't working. The Dame Lillard thing was like a godsend. I don't know who thought that they were going to get Damian Lillard. He wants to be in Miami, and that's the other thing. Reports are coming out that if Giannis leaves, he want to go to the Brooklyn Nets, which, listen, I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan, and I have no idea why. Giannis, stay the fuck away. You don't want this. That's his problems. You do not want to be on this team. I would feel terrible if we wasted your prime, if we destroyed your career. As the Brooklyn Nets are currently constructed, I have no idea why Giannis would want to come here. And I'm like I said, I'm going to get disbanded. I'm going to say a lot of things that are going to get me banned from Brooklyn Nets fans' spaces. And that's because I care about y'all. It's because I love y'all. And that's because I can't lie about how I feel, because you deserve the truth. No hope for Giannis coming here, and you're a bad person if you hope he comes here, because why would you want to ruin that young man's career? But the other place he wants to go, supposedly, if you trust the reporting, is Miami. And I know Damian Lillard has to be looking over. Like, you are the bitchest nigga I've ever met, my nigga. Like, you know I wanted to go to Miami, and I ended up here. So now you gonna go to Miami and leave me stuck here? You wasn't even trying to go. Yeah, I never heard you mention Miami. And low-key, Giannis would be perfect for Miami in a way that Dame would not be. Let's be real. Dame would be like, the glitz and glamour, like you got a high-powered scorer and a star in his own right. But, like, Miami low-key about that grit and grind. It don't match the city at all that they're like that, but they like the Grizzlies back in the day. Miami is all about that grit and grind, hard work. We don't care if it's bone on bone. We want you to practice. All that shit. Lillard's a hard worker by all, for all intents and purposes. But hey, he ain't no fucking Giannis. He ain't the type of athlete Giannis is. He ain't the type of go hard that Giannis is. I feel like Giannis could I feel like Giannis grinds his teeth in his sleep. Like, he's a really, really intense fucking guy. Like, he's about this and he wants this in a way that just screams Miami. And I think Dame wants it, but it doesn't feel as rugged, right? Like, Damian Lillard feels like he feels manicured, like Giannis. I feel like he got them farm hands, like calluses all over the place. Like, he's about that. Like, I feel like Giannis could win tug of war against 5 niggas by himself. Like, this is the type of guy that Miami needs. This is the type of guy that Jimmy Butler would be proud to sail with. He's the type of guy that Bam Adebayo, who's probably gone if Giannis goes to Miami, right, via trade. I feel like you gotta come up on Bam. Ain't no way we letting you have. Bam's not tall enough to call him Twin Towers, but ain't no way we letting you have that defensive front court. You can't have Bam and Giannis, no. But what do I know? I'm very confused about the Bucks. I'm standing with bated breath, trying to see what the fuck happens. But that's been Assaulted Nest today. Shout out to Biggs. We had this episode without Biggs, just because we didn't have time to record it yesterday. And like I said, I'm kind of in a different place. Like, Biggs and I don't live as close to each other as we used to, and we're still figuring some stuff out. And some good news. We got some good news. It's not my news to tell y'all, but Biggs has recently gotten some very good news in his life. That may or may not affect scheduling, but again, we'll still bring you guys episodes and stuff like that. We're just trying to figure out how to get back to normalcy with some of the stuff that has been happening recently. So thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate you. I know I'm not enough to carry the show by myself, but yeah, maybe I am for an episode here and there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,